Okay, we are sitting here with Hiran from Battlecross. Starting off, how's the tour been so far?
Awesome. We started out in Dublin, and then did Belfast, and then Manchester yesterday, and it's been awesome so far. Crowd seems to be really into what we're doing, and we're having a good time over here. It's awesome.
Cool. Can you give us like a brief history of Battlecross?
Sure. Well, the band, Tony and I started the band back in roughly 2003, and we, had different lineup. Sound was a little different, and then around 2007 is kind of when we got a little more heavier and technical in what we were doing as a band, and that's when Mike Krieger, our original drummer, joined, and we had our original vocalist Marshall as well. So that was kind of like when those two kind of stepped in. That was when we kind of stepped up what we were doing. And then around 2007, throughout then, we went through different lineups, and Don came in the band about 2008. He came from another local band called 10 Count. And then around, we did our first self-release, Push, Pull, Destroy, and we recorded it, had it done, and we were kind of shopping it to labels and stuff like that, and didn't really hear anything yet. And then around that time, around 2011, or no, I would say, probably the summer of 2010, somewhere around there, we parted ways with Marshall, and then we were kind of in a transition period of finding vocalists, and that's when Gumby came into the band. He was from a local band that we played with called IDK, and so he joined in the fold, and then that was kind of when things were picking up with Metal Blade, and we started talking with them, and when we signed with them, we decided to re-release Push, Pull, Destroy, and released it as Pursuit of Honor, and that had Gumby's vocals on it, basically, on the song. So, and since then, as soon as that album was released, we were busy touring and doing all kinds of shows, and here we are. And second album release, War of Will, and we are now in Europe, so
yeah.
The UK.
What does Battlecross mean to you in one sentence?
Oh, wow. One sentence. Battlecross is my life. I've worked so hard to, this band is pretty much my everything, and since 2007 is when we were really kind of, well, even before then it was pretty serious, but when things were really taking off, everything in my life was basically, on hold. This was like my main focus, so it's my life, and anyone in a band that tours, that's pretty much, it is their life, it's their job, so.
Can you describe a bit of what the metal scene's like in Detroit at the moment?
The metal scene is great. There's a lot of good bands in Detroit. There's a lot of good bands. It's just sometimes getting people out to shows is the problem. So the shows aren't always that big, but they can be. And I mean, we just played Detroit, and we packed, our little club there. So we packed 2 venues in Detroit. So it's cool to see that support for metal kind of getting stronger over the years. Starting out it was really tough. But I think there's a lot of great bands from there, and I think there's a good scene there, and there's bands with a lot of potential, and there's a lot of good bands that I hope to see, as long as they're putting in the work to actually go out and do something and tour and do what they do. So
cool. Okay, tell us what the Orion Festival was like and what it did for you, and maybe can you describe like a Metallica moment that you had, because obviously they chose you guys for the tour.
Absolutely. Orion Fest was incredible. Just even knowing we were going to be a part of that was huge. It's in our hometown. Metallica's on it. Big Metallica. It's their biggest fest that they do, and so it was awesome. Just an incredible feeling. The whole weekend was just amazing. The fact that out of all the bands that got to be part of their press conference, we were that one band that got to be on a board with Metallica. We're sitting next to James Hetfield and Robert Trujillo. Just, holy crap! Like they're sitting right next to us, and then we have press asking questions and things like that. It was really surreal. I remember just that moment. We were backstage waiting at the press conference, and I see this cart roll up, and there's James Hetfield, and I was speechless. Just like holy shit, this is James Hetfield coming up. he walks up, shakes my hand, introduces himself, and that was a really surreal moment. But I think the best moment for me that whole weekend was before we were going on stage or warming up, and James Hetfield rolls up in a golf cart and starts talking to us and bullshitting with us, and I had no idea that he was going to get on stage and introduce us. So that was just like, I remember just watching, and the crowd, there was filled, this tent was filled in with all these people, and he gets up out there and just pumps up the crowd and introduces us, and that moment, I'll never forget that, man. That was just like unreal, like that energy that from the crowd, and just having James Hetfield from Metallica introduce my band, and then as I'm going on the stage, fist bumping James Hetfield, and then we just went out there and rocked it, man. We killed it, and it was just an unreal moment, man. Definitely one of the best career highlights for us, I think.
Cool. Right, this is your first time over in the UK and Europe. What's, say, one aim that you want to achieve while you're over here?
I just hope, that we impress every crowd, and what I really hope out of all of this is that it opens more doors to travel over here more often, get on more festivals. I want to come back, and really, it's as much as we're going to put in a performance, it's kind of up to the crowd and the audience to really determine if we're worthy of coming back. So, I just hope we impress the audience, and I hope that they love what we do, and I want to come back, so I hope to come back soon and do more stuff in Europe and the UK, and do more festivals. So I mean, already we're doing some festivals, and I just, I've always heard good things about coming here, and we're finally here. So we definitely, it's like we're here to show everyone who we are and make an impression. So
cool. How would you describe Battlecross to someone from the crowd? So like, how would you describe the music, maybe?
I guess the best way to put it, Paul Ryan from Origin, band Origin, I'd like the best way I think he described it was high energetic thrash.
Or blue collar thrash, wasn't it? Someone described it as.
Yeah. It's I think it's really similar to thrash. It has a lot of thrash elements. But overall, I like to tell people, when people ask, what do you play or what kind of music, I just say heavy metal. It's metal. Yeah. Because there's so many various styles in it. And once you start going into labeling and making up all these labels for music, you really, I think, start to put a barrier on what people are going to listen to or think about your band. And I think if you just openly say, we're metal, people are going to know it's heavy metal, but they're going to go in with an open mind and not expect anything. And I think that's the most important. That's, to me, is the best way to listen to a band, is a complete open mind, no expectations. Because when you go in with an expectation, most of the time, either your expectations are met or they're let down or sometimes exceeded, but most of the time they're exceeded when you don't expect anything, you know what I mean? So it's like, I like to just tell people we're metal, and I really hope, a lot of, and I've heard so many people say, I had no idea what to expect from you guys, and, holy shit, so it's, that I like to really kind of put things in that simple terms.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. You've toured with Metallica, In Flames, Five Finger Death Punch. Who is the one band that you would love to just tour with?
I would really love to tour with Slayer. Would be one band. I love Slayer. Grew up listening to them. So Slayer, Lamb of God would be awesome. Actually do a full tour with Metallica would be incredible. Man. There's a lot of other bands too. I just say a lot. I just like to mention the big names because I know for us as a band, we want to get out there to as many people as possible. So Black Sabbath, that would be incredible. Iron Maiden, all the big names. I mean, all the big names in metal. I would love to go out with those guys and get a chance to play for their audiences, because as a band, that's what you want to do. You want to build your audience and get plays for as many people as possible. So, I mean, I have personal favorites that I would, love to play with, more of the underground stuff, We did a little tour with Goat Horror, which was awesome, and I love those guys, so I'd go out with those guys again. Origin, those guys are awesome. Yeah, I mean, getting a chance to be with Killswitch and Trivium, you know, it's awesome. You know, those guys are great, and you know, we're honored to be on this tour with them. So,
how does it feel being announced for Download Festival?
It's awesome, man. That's one of the big, you know, the big festivals out here, and you know, it's seeing that lineup and just knowing how big that festival is to be a part of it's exciting. And it's cool that we get to kind of do this to build up some momentum for that show. So it's kind of hopefully become even bigger when we get up on stage and play, and then from there, you know, I hope that opens even more doors, like I said before, to play for even bigger shows and bring more of a new audience. So.
Okay, a bit about War of Will. Can you tell us about the writing and recording process, and maybe how it differed from Pursuit of Honor?
Sure. Well, Pursuit of Honor, you know, that a lot of those songs were really old. I mean, there are a few songs on there that were written in 2007. So, you know, Pursuit of Honor had a lot of time to work on stuff and just basically be played out constantly, and stuff was reworked a little bit, and but there was a lot of time put into that. Not to say that there wasn't time put into War of Will, but I think War of Will was a little different in the sense that we were now kind of under a time crunch, you know, and there's a little more pressure. You know, when you write your first album, there really isn't a whole lot of pressure, because you're kind of you're doing what you love, you're just doing what you do, and you're hoping that people like it, and then, oh, you get picked up. Okay, people like what we do. The second album comes around, now you have to top what you did the first time. Now there's expectations, now there's pressure. So doing that, it was like, some songs were written kind of right after Pursuit of Honor was done, and then we would, in between touring, we would kind of work on stuff, and towards like close to getting to end of the first album cycle, it was like, okay, we need to like get into gear, because we're gonna have to go in the studio. Like, number one, we have a tour with In Flames. Right after, we have to go in that studio. So when we knew that was happening, it was like, okay, and we were kind of basically really working to the grind to really put out work on some stuff. And the way we basically write is, you know, someone comes in with an idea. You know, usually Tony or Don or myself will come up with a couple riffs, or maybe someone will construct something. Put some like program some drums to it and give like a demo of what they have. Or sometimes for me, I mostly would just kind of write some riffs and construct them, and then I'd show them to the guys, and they'd be like, okay, that's pretty cool, and then we try and jam it out, and then we just basically bounce off ideas, like let's try this, and we're a band that's very open to everyone having a say in something, and all kind of agreeing. Like, we don't want to do something where, you know, everyone's like, or one guy's like, I don't like this, I'm not happy with it. It's like, we want everyone to be happy with it and enjoy what they're doing, you know, and that's important for us. And I think that's where the unique style of the songs kind of come in, because everyone's got their own personal taste and influences that kind of all comes together in the songs. So, but we're pretty picky writers, because we really just want to put out quality stuff, you know. We're not just a band that just pumps out songs and okay, we're done. It's, you know, writing a song, working on it, changing things, throwing things out, you know, and that's why some of the songs are kind of short, because we're not about dragging parts out. You know, we want to basically trim the fat and make sure that the song from front to end is just awesome, you know. So,
what does 2014 hold for Battlecross?
More touring. After this run, we go back to the States and we do a tour with Protest the Hero, and then we do that tour for about a month. And then when that's done, we're doing a couple dates with Killswitch in the States as well. And then after that, we're going to be doing some festivals, like Grass Pop, Download, Nova Rock. And then maybe hopefully in the summer, maybe come back here. Maybe during the festival cycle, do some little club dates or something. I mean, you know, who knows, but that's what we're trying to do. So more touring, more getting out to audiences we haven't played yet, and really just pushing War of Will as much as possible. But we're definitely going to be writing in between all of this to kind of start new ideas for the next album. So we've already, I think some of us have tried just on our own, kind of working out some ideas. So, but we're not really in the like writing process yet. So. But that definitely, you know, in between touring, start thinking about the next album, and yeah, just keep playing and keep, you know, working.
Right, just finally, what's been your favourite, say, moment of this past tour in the UK? Like, have you done anything typically British?
Definitely have hit up, you know, the pubs and bars and stuff like that, and I just like, I'm really into craft beer, so I like to try different beers and things like that. We went to Satan's Hollow the other night in Manchester, and that was pretty fun. It's like a little weird dance club, and it was fun. Just the whole adventure of like walking around, you know, the city is really cool. And I was actually born in London, so you know, it's kind of cool to be back in my birthplace. It'd be nice to do a little more sightseeing around here. I don't know how much I'll get to do today, but you know, I want to see as much as possible. You know, I'm not one of those guys that wants to just play and then go sit on the bus and rot. You know, it's like I want to be out here, meet all the people that come out to these shows, go and explore. I mean, it's unreal to sit, you know, to think that our music brought us to another country, you know, another continent, you know, for that matter. So. Yeah, I just actually it was funny the other night we were at Big Hands. It's another small little pub in Manchester. I was talking to a guy, and I guess he's in the British military or something. And I was trying to do my English accent, like, you know, how good am I? And he was laughing at some things, and then he's like, it's pretty good. So it's fun, man. People are really cool here. Everyone's really friendly that I've met so far. So I'm loving this, man. I can't wait to come back and, you know, see more stuff that I haven't seen, and just, you know, it's cool, man. It's cool to be away from something that you're used to. It's always nice. A nice change of scenery is needed, you know, so.
Cool. Right, thanks so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.